Hello everyone, welcome to the channel of Algocamp. So now on this particular channel, we are actually releasing a series on data structures and algorithms where we are going to talk about some of the most important data structures and algorithmic topics which are extremely important for your upcoming software engineering interviews. Apart from that, these are some of the I would say topics that are very helpful in your day-to-day engineering job as well. We have already released a couple of series around searching, right? And we got a really good response on that. And from here, we are going to put really some awesome content around DSA. In most of these lectures, we will try to ensure that we focus on the intuition building aspect of the things, that how you are able to think about something, what are some of the things that people actually neglect but are going to clear some of the really important fundamentals. We are going to see coding implementation, but trust me, my focus is not going to be on the language delivery aspect of the things, that okay, you have to code this in C++ or Java. A lot of problems we have coded in multiple languages. Maybe some of the problems will be in C++, some will be only in JavaScript. I believe if you are somebody who is preparing for an interview, language in 2025 should not be a constraint, because most of the people can actually use ChatGPT to do language conversions. So my motive here is to make sure that you understand the concept in depth. You actually see how exactly somebody might have thought about the problem when they were carving out the problem, what can be some initial thought process, how you can actually drive yourself towards the solution. I believe these are going to be some really important videos that will be really helpful for your upcoming career. So do let us know what is your feedback. We are going to release a lot of more topics. Do let us know what all topics you want to have first, right? And the feedback is going to be important. Also, in case you are actually thinking to level up, you want to learn things with respect to low-level design, high-level design, overall system design for interviews, or you are somebody who wants to do project development in Spring Boot, you want to learn advanced Spring Boot concepts, or let's say advanced Node.js concepts, then we have a lot of courses, live courses running on algocamp.io. So you can check out the website courses.algocamp.io/learn, and there are a lot of courses that are actually listed. A lot of great discounts are actually going on all the courses as well. Do check them out. For each and every single course, we are going to add you to a dedicated Discord community where you can get your doubts resolved as well. All of the courses, we have made sure that we talk about things from the very beginner to the very advanced level that is going to help you level up in your career as a software engineer. So that being said, let's start the video without any further delay.
Now we have another problem, FrogJump 2, which is technically the same variation from FrogJump 1. The only difference in this problem and the previous problem is that instead of just jumping from I to I plus 1 and I plus 2, you can jump from I to I plus 1, I plus 2, I plus 3, I plus 4, so on and so forth up till I plus k. So you'll be given a value k. Rest everything is same. So this was our recurrence relation when we were able to jump from I to I plus 1 and I plus 2. Now technically, if I take this particular function call as it is, copy, paste. Now we can just expand the solution like this, right? We can say instead of just coming from n minus 1 to n and n minus 2 to n, you can also come from n minus 3 to n, and the cost is going to be h of n minus 3 minus h of n. You can also come from n minus 4 to n, h of n minus 4 minus h of n, right? And so on. You can come from h of n minus k plus h of n minus k minus h of n, right? And this time you have to calculate minimum of all of these calls. That's the only difference, right? Just think about it. If you have an array, now if you make a jump of 1 from n minus 1, you will reach n. If you'll make a jump of 2 from n minus 2, you will reach n. If you'll make a jump of 3 from n minus 3, you will reach n. If you'll make a jump of k from n minus k, you will reach n. So this is all the possibilities, and you can of course write a forward recurrence also that.
So before moving forward in the video, if you're somebody who is actually looking to learn Spring Boot and want to develop a career in backend development in Java, then you are at the absolutely right place. So now we have actually launched the second iteration of our Spring Boot cohort, where we are going to talk about a lot of interesting backend development topics in Spring Boot, right from the beginner level to the very advanced level. We're going to start with basics of what is a build system. We'll start learning about what are basics of databases, what are basics of Spring Boot, and slowly and steadily we'll move to advanced topics like how you can actually implement distributed transactions using the saga design pattern, be it the choreography saga or the orchestration saga. We are going to talk about the design aspects of some of the very interesting projects, including making a distributed wallet, including making an Airbnb based backend booking system. We are going to talk about how you can actually play around with geospatial indexes and how you can make an Uber booking application altogether and whatnot. There's going to be a lot of important topics that are very frequently used in day-to-day backend engineering job, which will actually help you to get the idea of what exactly it looks like to develop these kind of like scalable applications. So if you want to turn up your portfolio into an absolute Spring Boot beast, then do check out the link in the description section below and use this coupon code to get maximum discount off on the cohort. And I'm really excited for you to join the cohort as well. So let's just resume back to the video.
F of I is equals to minimum of f of I plus 1, f of I plus 2, and so on. That also you can absolutely write. But can I say this is going to be the only modification that you have to do for your recurrence relation? There is just one corner case that you are going from n to n minus 1, n minus 2, n minus 3, and so on. N minus 3 should exist also, no? It should not be the case that n minus 3 is not even existing and you are trying to go to n minus 3. That can be a bizarre situation to land yourself in, right? So all you have to do is just with everyone, you can try to have a check. Like for example, if n minus 1 is greater than or equal to 0, if n minus 2 is greater than or equal to 0, if n minus 3 is greater than or equal to 0, and so on, if n minus k is greater than or equal to 0. Can I say that? We can just put an if check that if that particular index exists, then only we can jump from there, right? Just think about it. If the value of k is 5 and you have just a 3 length array, is there a meaning of n minus k? No, right? So now you can see we have a lot of repetition, n minus 1, n minus 2, n minus 3, n minus 4, n minus k. We can reduce this recurrence to write a one-liner recurrence like this. F of n comma h is equals to minimum of f of n comma h, f of n minus j comma h plus n minus j minus h of n for all j that belongs to the range 1 to k and n minus j is greater than or equal to 0. That's it. This is just a one-liner recurrence, right? What I've said, that calculate possible minimum, like all the minimum values for all values of j, like all values of j range from 1 to k. So this will become n minus 1, then it will become n minus 2, n minus 3, then n minus 4, so on and so forth, n minus k, and so on. So we'll calculate minimum of all of them. It's just that n minus j should be always greater than or equal to 0. That's it. So if you have to write a DP solution, you already have a top-down variation looking in front of you. No problem at all, right? The only change that you might have to do is how to write a bottom-up solution for this. A bottom-up solution is going to be very easy. You will use the same recurrence. dp of n is equals to minimum of dp of n minus j plus h of n minus j minus h of n for all j that belongs to the range 1 to k, and n minus j should be greater than or equal to 0. For better visualization, I'll just convert it to I. Instead of n, I'll convert it to I. dp of I. Right. And my final answer will be present inside dp of n. That's it. Now, how will you represent this kind of a solution inside an array? You can use loops, right? You can loop when you say j belongs to 1 to k. Technically, you can say j is going to 1, then it is going to 2, then it is going to 3, then it is going to 4, so on and so forth. It will reach k. So you can write a for loop for j equals to 1, j less than or equal to k, j plus plus, right? And you can bind this for loop inside a for loop of I is equals to, let's say 2, I less than or equal to n, I plus plus, because you have to calculate every possible I. And then you say if I minus j is less than 0, you break out of the loop. Why? Because you always want I minus j to be greater than equal to 0. If for any particular value of j, I minus j becomes less than 0, then everything beyond that j, I minus j will be always 0 or less than 0. Otherwise, dp of I is equals to minimum of dp of I comma dp of I minus j plus absolute value of hi minus j. That's it. At last, you return dp of n. So see, if you see the previous set of bottom up solutions, we used to already have a loop of n, right? Because you first need to compute the state 3, then state 4, state 5, state 6 and 7 and 8 and so on. So this loop already exists. Now we cannot do something like this, dp of n minus 1, dp of n minus 2, dp of n minus 3 and so on. It's a very tedious task. So I clubbed that task to be done by a for loop for me. I iterate j from 1 to k, that is the total possible limit of j. I check the condition that whether we need to go to dp or not, and then I just fill up this value. This can be a very straightforward bottom up solution to solve this question. If I try to code it, okay, I'll get my basic input from here and I'll write a function. Okay, I'll write a function fbu in 10 vector of it and h. Okay, cool. I'll make a dp array. I'll do dp dot clear, dp dot resize 10 is per 5 minus 1. Okay, cool. Now I can say dp of 1 is going to be always 0. This base case exists, right? dp of 1 is going to be always 0 because if you just have one stone, you don't need any cost to reach that stone. That's it. Now, in the previous question, we also used to set dp of 2. But now we cannot directly set it because there might be dp of 2, dp of 3, dp of 4. So better try to generalize it with the for loop only. So what we are going to say, I equals to 2, I less than equal to n, I plus plus. J equals to 1, j less than equal to k, j plus plus. We need to get a value of k also, int k. If I minus j is less than 0, we break out of the loop. Otherwise, simple. dp of I, minimum of dp of I comma dp of I minus j plus absolute value of h of I minus j minus h of I. That's it. See, same to same, I wrote the same recurrence in top down also and then converted it to bottom up. At last, my final answer is going to be return dp of I. That's it, right? We need to pass a k here as well. So we'll get a value of input k. Okay. So if you compile the code and now run it, first test case. Okay, so the answer is coming at -1. Let's see what is the problem. Okay, so we are calculating minimum, right? Here you can see we are calculating minimum. So now again in bottom up solution, sometimes you have to fill your DP array with a different value. Now just think about it. If DP value is -1, then you are comparing -1 with a new value. And this value is always going to be positive. So minimum will always remain -1, right? So instead of setting it -1, you can set it as something like int max. Int max is technically plus infinity. So this kind of minimum comparisons become very easy with that. Let's compile again. Paste 30, coming correct. 30 is the answer. For the next test case, the answer should be 20. 20 is coming. For this test case, the answer should be 0. 0 is coming. For this test case, the answer should be 40. 40 is coming. And if you copy, paste, submit, AC, right? Successfully submitted the corresponding problem. And still the time and space complexity remains same, right? Order of n. So this was a simple problem. If you have already solved the problem of ProgJump 1, you just need to make slight variations to it and you will be able to solve the problem of ProgJump 2 using dynamic programming.